free Chad 2020 or something. It's free Ruby 2024. That is so funny. Apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur. The fur.
Did you see that, chat?
She actually did smell. I'm not even gonna lie.
Was it good?
No, her hygiene.
Also, now we dissing on prisoners.
What? Bro, she's a felon. She's an actual
Felon. Sorry.
She's just absolutely stinking up the cell. What it's like to literally rot in prison.
I was not expecting any of that. I think Saturday or Sunday evening. Not expecting it at all. The eldest of the Frankie children, Chad Frankie, who is now 19, he was on Twitch, and this is fully open. You can go and view it. It's not private or anything like that. Chad was there answering some questions that I feel like a lot of people wanted answered.
Question there, at least I didn't see one. Yeah, I really appreciate it. It was kind of hard to go back into therapy just because my last therapist is now in prison, so I trusted her for like 5 years, and I listened to everything she said. And yeah, I was pretty brainwashed, so it's kind of hard to get back into it, but I really enjoy it now.
He said some things which were definitely worth noting. He did not mention the children. So this live stream, he was playing Fortnite with his friends, and he was talking about his experience, Ruby and Jodi, and then Kevin as well, and a bit about the sisters. So there was no mention, and he made it extremely clear that he will not be discussing his siblings, which I think is amazing. The only thing he did say is that everyone is in therapy. Least to say, I wrote some serious amounts of notes because this was about a 2.5 hour live stream. So this video is very much going to be split into different categories. I literally went along and highlighted things so that I could deliver it in a really concise way, because some of the stuff he was saying I was really astounded by. He talked about Pam Bodmer, who, if you know, was the president of Connections, and how apparently she's in hiding. He was talking about Jodi, Ruby, Kevin, and, you know, his experiences, just shedding a little bit more light. The very first little bit is going to be about him and himself. So Chad Frankie is 19 years old. He is the eldest son of the Frankie children, the 6 of them. He is the eldest boy, and then Sherry, who is the eldest out of all of them. What I just want to say is that his sense of humor is pretty top notch in this, and I do know that, like, obviously people deal with things differently. Some people it comes out in humor, so there were, you know, people were like paying him to sing Apple Bottom Jeans, which he did. He sung that chorus.
Sweatpants and the Reeboks with the straps. The straps! She turned around and gave that big booty a smack. Hey!
Yo,
Is Ruby watching your stream from prison? That should be wild.
she never supported him in the first place. Why would she do it now?
No way. What is your favorite distorted thing to do now that you're out?
Oh, what the freak?
That is funny. Someone commented distortion. Sorry. I know it's pretty distorted for me to sing that song. My bad.
It was a really good laugh, and they were obviously taking it on the chin. Like, he acts out it in humor. I think it is refreshing to see, you know, no matter what is going on within the family, it's not our business to know. It's nice to see that he can kind of joke, at least make some sort of light-hearted humor out of the apple bottom jeans and the distorted mumbo jumbo. Once upon a time, Ruby Frankie basically marched her way into the school to complain that they were learning a dance and doing it alongside Flow Rider Low, that song. And then there was this part where Kevin Frankie, the dad, literally stood up in a school meeting, like a whatever, and then read out the lyrics to that song, and it was comedy gold.
He was flexible, professional. Hold up, wait a minute. Do I see what I think Whoa.
He also goes on to talk about the beanbag situation and how he slept on the beanbag for 7 months, but he actually found it quite comfy. He also goes on to say that at the time he didn't realize, sorry, that's the wind, literally the wind knocking my thing. He didn't realize just how messed up it actually was that Jodi and Ruby had taken the door off of his bathroom as a way of restricting his privacy, as a form of punishment, so that they could watch him at all times. And apparently he was very complicit in it, and he didn't actually see anything the matter with it at the time. And then after he kind of came out of the house and he realized what was going on, he reflected on it and realized that it really was quite, you know, it's really messed up to do that to anyone, let alone a child.
I slept on a beanbag for 7 months, and I honestly enjoyed it. Honestly, it's not that bad. Because I honestly believe that it was like the right thing. You guys gotta like. I don't think anyone really understands the brainwash behind it. Everything my mom taught, I thought was true, up until a couple weeks after the arrest. That's just how it was, and I think that's how it was for everyone. I had my bathroom door taken off because they didn't want me to have any privacy. So, I mean, and even though I was like 15, 16, like I'm still a kid and I still listen. And I try to like look up to my parents and listen to them, or my mom specifically, and Jodi. So I just thought like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. Wasn't even against it. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, his bit about kind of looking up to Jodi and Ruby as parental figures, by the sounds of it, and this isn't me construing what he's saying, as we're going to go further on into it when he's talking about his experiences of Kevin Frankie, his dad, but Chad does go, and he does mention quite a few times, you know, looking up to parental figures, and the parental figures in that household up until the point where him and his dad were both kicked out on the same day. Up until that point, Jodi and Ruby were like the ones in charge. They were the bosses of the house, and everyone had to follow them. And because Chad was going through therapy with Jodi for 5 years, I think he said, he trusted her and he told her everything. Now, interestingly enough, the reason why he got kicked out was because I think he said that he had some girls round, nothing like that, just having some friends round kind of thing. As we all know, they are very Mormon, and he's still Mormon to this very day, and he said that, you know, saving himself to that kind of thing between a man and a woman. So it wasn't in any way like that. It was inviting some friends over. And around this same time, Kevin was basically getting ready to be shooed out of the house, and Chad and Kevin both left the house on the exact same day, and Chad moved in with Kevin.
Story time on getting kicked out. Okay, yeah, no, that's good. Thank you for the donation. So honestly, what I did, I was in high school, and I had some girls over, and
In his bed.
what? No, just. I mean, I think it's just what any normal teenage bro does. He has girls over, so that's kind of what I did. And then I remember once, because I was working with Jodi, I felt like bad that I wasn't telling my mom that. I told my mom that on the couch, and this was when she was like very into connections. She got so upset and like was crying so much. She just told me that, hey, you know, you're gonna move out next week. So, and then that's when I moved out with my dad. He didn't move out, like he didn't leave. My mom kicked him out. That's how it went.
I didn't actually realize that Jodi was his therapist for 5 years. I thought it was shorter than that, but that is the time frame.
It was kind of hard to go back into therapy just because my last therapist is now in prison. So I trusted her for like 5 years, and I listened to everything she said. And yeah, I was pretty brainwashed. So
when he's discussing his mum, when he's discussing Ruby, he said that he's asked Ruby for some space, and she is giving it to him. The last phone call that he had with her was in September, and he does at some point see having a relationship with her one day, but it's not going to be now.
that's a good question. I do. I honestly do. I'd like a relationship with my mom again at some point. So, have I visited Ruby in prison? I have not. I have not done that.
Are you going to?
If I did, it won't be for a long time. Last time I talked to her was in September. She called me. I talked to her for a little bit. First call didn't go well. Second call was a little better.
I just want to say to all of that is that, like, I think some people will listen to that and they'll go, how, like, she's a monster, which I completely understand. But you know how parent and child relationships, even when children go through, you know, abuse with their caregivers, it's very, very, very common for kids to still seek out like love and affection and a relationship with those parents. And I'm not obviously psychoanalyzing or anything, I'm just going off of what he's saying, but he says that yes, one day he would like a relationship with her. He also said that he made minimal amounts of money from 8 passengers. It is true about Ruby, which we're going to get into in a minute, Ruby actually taking the money out of their accounts. That is true. Chad basically made minimal amounts of money.
Is it true Ruby took all the kids' money and savings? Did you actually make any money on trying to 8 passengers? I made very minimal amount when I did 8 passengers. I definitely should have made more. That's my opinion. But yes, when she was arrested, she She took money out of her account.
I was also say in regards to the wilderness camp, because I know he was asked that quite a lot, he actually didn't mind the wilderness camp. He didn't understand why he went there. It wasn't needed or anything. He hated the food, but he didn't actually mind the camp. I mean, I would absolutely hate it, especially if you, well, I'd hate it even if you did have a reason to go there, but especially if you didn't have a reason to go there, but this is just what he's saying.
At the camp? Dude. It was actually a lot of fun. I actually enjoyed it.
What?
Yeah, by the way, Chad is a professional fire starter.
Yeah, I can start fire with some sticks.
Pyro?
How bad was it? It obviously wasn't my choice to do it. They just told me I was gonna do it and I kind of complied. Did I enjoy it? I actually did. I learned a lot. I don't think it was necessary at all. It definitely was not necessary at all. No, food was terrible. Food was really bad.
I think the most saddest part out of the part about him talking about himself was the fact that he said that, you know, all the kids are in therapy. He found it quite a struggle at first because, of course, the one therapist he had for like 5 years is now in prison. So I think that was really quite sad to listen to. But by the time, like him from his own personal, listening to him kind of play it, he was playing with his friends and he was chatting and he was just having a good time and he was like singing songs and things, trying to bring lightheartedness to it, which I feel like that is people's. Some people cope in that kind of way. And it sounds like he's doing a lot better. Chapter number 2. Right, Ruby and Jodi. This is to do with Ruby and Jodi, anything to do with them two in particular. So, Ruby and Jodi. He does go on to confirm that Jodi does in fact smell.
Okay.
Jodi smells. Did you see that, chat?
She actually did smell. I'm not even gonna lie.
Was it good?
No, her hygiene.
Also, now we dissing on prisoners.
What? Bro, she's a felon.
He's just absolutely stinking up the cell.
Wait.
She's literally rotting.
What it's like to literally rot in prison.
Which is something that Kevin randomly brought up in a police interview he did. He said that Jodi really stank because she used to wear a lot of layers to hide. I think he said there was harm hiding. I think that's what he was alluding to. He also firmly believes, and a lot of other people firmly believe as well, that Jodi was definitely a lesbian and that he judges that based off of the relationship that Ruby and Jodi had, like their relationship. That's one of the reasonings why he's saying. He doesn't elaborate on it, but that is what he's saying.
Do you think Jodi's a lesbian? Yeah, I do. I honestly do. That's my personal opinion. We don't claim Jodi. Thank you, Isabella Cat. I love that. That's awesome. She never, ever came out and said that she was lesbian, but I think based off of hers and my mom's behavior, I agree.
And in regards to Jodi as well, he does say that Jodi's teachings she was not influenced by the church, meaning that her teachings were nothing to do with what they would teach you at the church. Hers were completely different. At one point, she was being directed to help out from the church. Her teachings were not the same.
Do you think the church influenced Jodi in any way? No, I think she was just psychotic. That's my personal opinion. Everything that Jodi promoted that was abusive, it's not supported by our church in any circumstance. So no, if people blame the church for this, it's absolutely wrong. What she taught is completely different.
Also, in regards to Ruby and her sentencing, that's my dog, he feels that even though her speech was extra long, it went on for way too long, he does feel that she was genuine in what she was saying because he remembers her from, that's his mum. He remembers of times when she was actually being genuine.
Thoughts on Ruby's speech at her sentencing hearing? Oh, that's a great question. I really appreciate that question. I'm going to be honest. I thought it was very genuine. I thought it was a little weird. It sounded like she was receiving an Oscar or something. That she was like thanking everyone in the audience. It was a little strange and it was super long. I've seen her growing up and I've seen her be genuine and emotional. And what sounds real and what's not genuine. And I think that she was being very genuine in the sentencing hearing. I'm going to be honest.
In regards to him talking about his family and about his grandparents, so Ruby's mum and dad, he feels that they won't necessarily forgive her actions, but they probably will choose to forgive Ruby because the church is all about forgiveness.
Support her, I do not mind at all. No resentment. I love everyone the same. I have no resentment towards that. I definitely don't, and you gotta remember, they don't support what she did, but in the church, forgiveness is a huge thing in our church, and if they want to forgive, that's great, and I applaud them for that.
So talking a little bit more about Kevin now, so Kevin and the family and like the trial, kind of the trial as a whole, once again, he is not discussing his siblings, he's just talking about the elements that are surrounding it. He believes that anyone who truly thinks that Kevin had anything to do with it just doesn't understand or just doesn't know the full story, which people are obviously not going to understand the full story because we're not them, we don't have all the information, but he makes it extremely clear that up until 2 weeks after they were arrested, Ruby and Jodi were arrested, 2 weeks after that is when Chad basically started believing Sherry Frankie and started believing that actually his mum was guilty. Up until this whole point, he was saying that brainwashing is a real thing. Okay, he was brainwashed, his dad was brainwashed, and anyone that says that Kevin had anything to do with it just doesn't understand the story because it is very, very, very far from the truth. Even Chad still believed in Jodi and his mum 2 weeks after, and bear this in mind, like Ruby had ostracized, like she had taken her and the younger kids away from everyone, including Chad, Sherry and Kevin. Chad still wanted to believe in Jodi and Ruby. He was very much brainwashed. And we have to remember about all of this stuff that he has just talked about, the door, the wilderness camp, the beanbag, all of that. They had no phones. They were not allowed phones. They weren't allowed technology of any, like they weren't allowed any of that. They were limited to everything, but he still believed that what they were doing was okay.
No, Kevin was not an addict.
No, it was. If anyone blames Kevin for anything, they have the story completely wrong. Like, this was a Ruby and Jodi thing. I had no idea the abuse was going on when I moved out. Anyone in our family, anybody, if you ask anyone, can all say that Kevin had no idea about the abuse. But you also got to remember that all of us were working with Jodi at this time, and we were all in support of Ruby and Jodi, but we did not know what they were doing behind doors. I hate when people try to dissect it when the real people that know are the ones that were actually there. Even when there's evidence that says that he clearly wasn't aware of anything, I wish people would just look at the facts, you know? I mean, I was in support at first when I heard everything, so I just didn't understand that. I was in denial. I know he was too, so.
Just to talk about that as well, like Chad does go on to say that he thought that like Sherry was in distortion. He made this Instagram post for one on the day they were arrested, basically saying, thank goodness, this has been a long time coming, that kind of thing. Before that, she went on to the Into the Light podcast, something a bit like that. I'll leave it up here. She went and she did a podcast and she was kind of touching upon connections and how her family were involved in a cult and that she had to get out of it. But, you know, the rest of her family was still very much in it, and that's when she then started reaching out to, I think, Bonnie and etc., etc. So Chad didn't even believe his own sister. So this is how kind of warped the whole sense of reality went completely out of the window. Proper brainwashing, according to most of the people who were involved in this.
I was not in support of Sherry at all. I thought I kind of blamed her at first.
He is absolutely flabbergasted that Pam Bodmer is not being investigated. He said that it is shocking because she was the president and she was very present. Not only that, but apparently she has gone into hiding. Pam's gone into hiding. Where is she? We don't know.
Thoughts on Pam? Okay, you know what? I'm going to be completely honest. I am shocked they have not done more investigating on her. She was the president of Connections. And right now she's honestly just like in hiding. So I don't know if she knew. I'm gonna be honest. No idea if she knew. No idea. But I think they should do a little more investigating on that. That's a great question because I think she's being totally overlooked on everything.
apparently she's gone into hiding. So that is extremely telling. If she was the woman who appeared on this particular police cam, she was involved. They found 2 of the other kids in her residence. She would often have the kids round to do yard work for her. She actually had picked up the kids from wherever, and they were doing chores. Whatever was going on, but he believes that it's wild that she was not investigated. Talk about, you know, Kevin and everyone. Bonnie and the sisters have actually been a really good help, apparently, and they've been extremely supportive over what's going on. And they were really helpful during everything, and they say that the family is obviously still in communications.
Joe, do you talk to Bonnie, and did she try to help y'all? Oh, absolutely. Bonnie, I actually was on a phone call with her yesterday, and she's doing great. They're in Florida right now. And yes, she did try to help all of us. All of my aunts were being very kind and generous when everything happened.
That's basically what he was trying to say. I feel that listening to him, he definitely has quite a positive attitude to this whole thing, whether or not that's just his way of coping with it, or whether or not that is just generally like how he feels. I don't really know. But I feel like, yeah, it was really interesting because we've not had... Sherry has come out in bits and pieces and said things. It's my dog. Come out in bits and pieces and said things. But we haven't had anyone straight up doing a Q&A. He posted this after just to say it was great chatting with you. I'm going to appear later on. But yeah, he doesn't want to talk about the siblings. Can't talk about the siblings. We should not be talking about the younger ones anyway. That is just none of our business. What is done, sadly. But it was really good just hearing about some background knowledge into kind of what we all suspected. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful day wherever you are in this world. Take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and I will catch up with you guys in the next video.
She was flexible, professional. Hold up, wait a minute. Do I see what I think I? Whoa.